Well, here we are again, our latest installment of the Crockett Chronicles. When? Maybe this is a rhetorical question. When are these white women going to learn not to go after Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett? During a Fox interview, Attorney General Pam Bondi warned Crockett to, quote, tread very carefully, end quote, just days after the Democrat spoke at a virtual rally for the Tesla Takedown movement. If you don't think the Tesla Takedown movement is serious, 85% crater in Tesla sales in Europe. So let's be clear. This group is protesting against Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency's efforts to dismantle the federal bureaucracy through boycotts and demonstrations at Tesla properties.
We are not coming off these charges. We are looking at everything, especially if this is a concerted effort. This is domestic terrorism. And Maria, now you have this Congresswoman Crockett who is calling for attacks on Elon Musk on her birthday. Let's take him out on my birthday, she says. And yet she turns and says, oh, I'm not calling for violence. Well, she is an elected public official. And so she needs to tread very carefully because nothing will happen to Elon Musk. And we're going to fight to protect all of the Tesla owners throughout this country, and it's this basic safety. Once again, domestic terrorism is going to come to a stop in our country.
Well, what we've learned is something that we probably should have suspected, that Pam Bondi doesn't know the definition of domestic terrorism. But then again, that's not why she's the Attorney General, isn't it? It's not at all. Alina Habba, who just was made the top federal prosecutor for New Jersey, Trump's personal lawyer, who we last saw losing in New York court, is now the top federal prosecutor in New Jersey. So whether it be Alina Habba or Pam Bondi, I think it's pretty clear how you all got y'all's jobs and why you got them. But hey, we all know that Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Crockett, will answer when shots are fired. She addressed Bondi's remarks during an interview on MSNBC.
Tesla Takedown, that is the name of the website. And it was all about this large protest that they're calling for. And this is a nonviolent protest that they're calling for. And in fact, when I was on there, which is why the Attorney General had to say that I wasn't calling for violence, and it's ridiculous that I even have to say something like that. But because they are trying to twist our words, one of the things that I told people to do is make sure you are adhering to the laws in your area. Make sure you know what it looks like to protest and to be able to raise your voices and to exercise your constitutional right to free speech. And what we see is that they want to dull our free speech rights. They want to make sure that those that are participating in the press, because we saw that there have been recent attacks specifically on this news organization, they want y'all to kind of tamp down what you say and hopefully buy into the lies instead of going out there and just telling the truth. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see that Elon Musk, that his money as it relates to Tesla, well, Tesla's tanking right now. And I'm okay with that. So just in case the slow people listening decide to clip this up later, I just want to say that I have never promoted violence whatsoever. Yet I've also never made excuse for those violent actors such as the ones on January 6th. So Pam Bondi, if you have an issue with terrorism, maybe you should talk to your boss about locking back up those guys that he let out that participated in January 6th.
Congresswoman Crockett, who of course has a law degree, practiced law, business owner, had her own law firm, helping us understand the difference perhaps between a definitional statute and a charging statute. So Pam Bondi using words kind of loosely there, and Jasmine Crockett reminding us that there are indeed domestic terrorists in the United States who were charged and convicted, and many of them were pardoned by Pam Bondi's boss, Donald Trump. Dr. Dibinga, you sit there and look at this. You've written about this. You teach about this, how race operates. What do you make of Bondi's statements, and why do you think she made them and aimed them specifically at, as she said, this Congresswoman, Jasmine Crockett? And what do you hear when you hear the way that Bondi lined out there?
Oh, she's putting a target on her back, and she's also trying to issue a warning to other Black people in general because she knows full well that Representative Crockett is beloved in our community, and that even before the bleach blonde comment that went viral, she was always somebody who was represented and well respected in our community and just adored on so many levels. And so this is a kind of an opportunity, a way for them to kind of start at somebody at the top, because you've never really heard Pam Bondi mention any other Congress people or senators by name. Of course, Trump does it, shifty shift, all of that other type of stuff. But Pam Bondi doesn't really do that. She kind of speaks in generalizations, but now she's trying to issue that particular type of warning. And the fact of the matter is that letting people know that we're going to protect Tesla in any way, shape, or form. We're going to sell cars on the lot. We're going to, advertise selling the stock. But now we're also going to stop these acts of domestic terrorism. But as Representative Crockett said, now looking at the real terrorism that happens across this country on a daily basis, she's trying to throw some shots to say you better be careful. But Representative Crockett, as someone who's, as we know, has never called for violence and who's somebody who's always careful with her words, but we know for them it doesn't matter. It's about symbolism. It's about trying to keep Black people in place. It's about trying to keep us silent. And so they're starting at the top with somebody who's the most vocal. And this kind of happened with Auntie Maxine. Remember when she was talking about if you see these guys in the restaurant, confront them. And they're like, oh, remember, Representative Waters is calling for violence. And she was like, no, confront them in terms of having a conversation. Tell them you don't like their policies and that you voted for them, all of that. But they are master manipulators, but they are also the masters of projection, because every projection is a confession, because they are the one inflicting terrorism on people in America right now. Look at the people who they just shipped to El Salvador as the latest example.
Absolutely. And we lift up Yun Sao Chung, who is suing right now. They filed a lawsuit today. She's a student at Columbia University in New York, South Korean, 21 years old. She's been here since she was 7, has permanent resident status. Only an immigration judge can take away a green card, and she's suing because they're trying to get rid of her. And of course, we saw earlier, a couple of weeks ago, what happened there with Mahmoud Khalil, who also fellow legal immigrant at Columbia University, who was detained by ICE. And Renita, we've heard the over-the-top rhetoric of Tom Homan, Trump's attack dog with ICE and Department of Homeland Security, saying that I don't really care about these judges. I'll thumb my nose and do whatever I want to do. But, Renita, putting this target, as Omakongo said, on the back of Representative Crockett and trying to send a message that we don't care. We can do whatever we want, and we'll do it in the name of national security. We'll do it in the name of protecting the homeland from domestic terrorism, legal or not legal. We have the right to do that, or we have the power to do that. What do you make of this, particularly since, we know, particularly in the Deep South, that the idea of targeting people with rhetoric stirs up other people, and then these paramilitaries, these extra legal organizations, these places, can jump into action and perhaps have the intended consequences that such heated rhetoric stirs up. Should we be preparing to protect Representative Crockett at all costs at this point? I mean, what do you make of this situation?
We should, because statistically, Black women, when they serve in public office, receive more death threats than any other demographic of elected official. I certainly receive my share of death threats while serving. Folks who will call my office and say, conservative white men call my office saying, I'm coming down to the Capitol on her right now, calling, demanding for my home information, all types of stuff. At the end of the day, Pam Bondi, and I would just say conservatives overall, they are the most thin-skinned people you can possibly find. They would not last as a Black woman elected official. If they had to beat us for one day, they would quit by lunchtime. And so for Pam to add sauce to what Representative Crockett said, because that's what she did. Representative Crockett said, I hope that Elon will be out for my birthday, referencing getting him out of the White House, which is correct because he's not been elected by anybody. He doesn't belong there. She says she wants him out, and that is her right. She's broken no laws by saying that she wants him out. She's simply saying that she does not wish Elon well. Pam, I don't wish you well. And that is my right as an American. So I think that this whole game that they are playing, trying to basically force it on people that they have to continue to give Elon the popularity that he is used to, and that people have to only have good thoughts about how they run this administration, is a bunch of garbage. The more you try to shove something down a person's throat and tell them to think a certain way, it never works out well. People inherently reject that, and people inherently reject what you're trying to do. If you are doing such a good job, and this includes Pam Bondi, Trump, all of them, if you're doing such a good job with the way that you're running this administration, then you wouldn't be having to tamp down on what people voice and what they think about how the administration is going. People would be happy with it, but they're not. And people do have the right to speak up and say that they are not happy with it.
Indeed. I just want to sit there for a second in the fact that people are calling your office, threatening to come down there. That is, hey, y'all, this ain't the 1940s, 50s, or 60s. We're talking about right now, 21st century. I just want that to resonate very loudly. And we should all hear that crystal clear, whether or not they threats. The threat is the threat. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. It's, man, just thinking about that. Brother Mondale,
yeah.
What do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think people should hear we shouldn't even, like you said, we should sit there for a moment, because Renita just said something. She was a servant, a elected servant, and getting death threats. I'm someone who does not stay. I've not slept a night in my bed as mayor in a town. I have to go and leave that town every day. I have meetings because of death threats for tearing down a Confederate monument. 2.5 years, I'm moving back and forth from hotel to hotel and different locations for the protection of me and my wife. Credible threats where people have my address because I was doxxed by the Loyal White Knights, which is the largest Klan chapter in this country, the same ones that planned Charlottesville. But what Bondi want to do is, if she want to talk about those domestic terrorists, then she should be talking about what her FBI said, that the largest and the greatest threat to Americans, the greatest form of domestic terrorism, is white supremacy, white nationalists. She should get busy with that, but she can't, because she's disarmed the civil rights division of her department. These people aren't serious. And a matter of fact, I don't know if she understands the difference between domestic and global, but the Takedown Tesla is a global movement, and it's a global call to action. And it says directly on their website that they are against any form of violence or property destruction and vandalism, but they definitely want anybody that owns stock in Tesla to get rid of it, dump it, anybody that owns a Tesla to sell it, and also to protest this weekend in front of one of the 500 locations worldwide. 30 of them are planned in the United States, across 30 states. So I think this idea that they think that is a form of violence, it is in their mind, because they are white people not understanding why black people and other people are standing up or having the right to be uppity Negroes in this moment. And that will always be a form of terrorism for people who support and stand for the idea of whiteness. You, me, and everybody on this panel do not have a right, and Crockett included, do not have a right to question whiteness, a white person. And I think that's the point they're speaking from. The problem is they're saying it out loud. And we need to listen to them, because they're not dog whistling anymore. They're letting you know that black people need to be in their place. And if you're not, we're willing to use all matters of government to put you there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for those who are, so glad you brought the global context there. For those who have been paying attention, the electric vehicle leader in the world, the giant, is BYD out of China. You can't buy them here, of course, but today, BYD reported annual revenues from 2024 of around $107 billion. Last year, Tesla's annual revenue was $97.7 billion, and that's without access to the U.S. market. That profit jumped 34% for BYD in fiscal year 2024. By the way, about 2 weeks ago, they announced a quantum leap in battery technology. They now have announced a battery that can go almost 300 miles for an electric vehicle on a 5-minute charge. Elon Musk, do you hear what's coming for you, baby? I know that's why you want to steal our tax dollars.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.